Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 27. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here on this Friday show, Dave. It's officially fall, and it feels like it here in Pittsburgh. 58 degrees today. I imagine it's actually, is it maybe the same temperature out there in Vegas? You always got cold mornings out there, right?
Yeah, it gets a little crisp. I don't know if it's that crisp in the morning just yet here, but it says it's 74 here right now. So and that's that's pretty cool. But it'll get up to 90 today. The big thing here is that we're out of the 100 days for the most part now, so it'll start cooling off a little bit moving forward.
Cooling off to 90.
Yeah, look, it's not that bad. Obviously 90 is 90, but when you don't have the humidity involved, I mean, it's a lot better. Now it will start dropping off here a little bit, where it'll start being like 78, 80 during the days, and wake up it'll be 31, 32 first thing in the morning, especially when I get up with the chickens and all. But enough of me playing Willard Scott. Willard Scott just passed away recently. Did you know that?
Did he?
Yeah.
No. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he did.
So he was loved him on the morning shows, yeah.
Boy, he's been around since almost, obviously my entire life. And
he did the birthdays, right?
He did the 100-year-old birthdays and things like that. So, and I think, what did he just live to? Like, he was like 89 or 90 himself, I think.
Was he?
Here we go down the rabbit hole already here. 87. He died September 4th, just a couple of weeks ago there, 3 weeks ago. How about that?
Didn't even know about that. That is really sad. That was such a Vegas citizen thing to say about the whole dry heat thing. It's such a typical Vegas person.
Look, if people give it a chance to move out here, man, they'd never move anywhere else. I don't think.
You should be a real estate agent for Vegas. Man. You talk it up more than anyone I know, and I believe you. But
we love it out here for sure. All right, what we got?
Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their injury report. It's a long list of names, as we expected. It's probably not quite as scary as we potentially thought it might be, though it's still far from good, to kind of steal the Tomlin term there from what Deontay Johnson. He said it was good, but far from great, or whatever the case was there. So practicing on Thursday in full included Eric Ebron, who had a coach's decision day off on Wednesday. Devin Bush has been full the 2 days this week so far, Wednesday, Thursday. Joe Hayden went from limited on Wednesday to full on Thursday. So right off of the bat there, it looks like Hayden and Bush are going to be able to play. TJ Watt's been limited both days, so the fact he's doing something is positive. Ben, of course, had the pec, did not practice on Wednesday, though he rarely practices on Wednesday, even when healthy. He was limited on Thursday, so that's encouraging. The guys who have not been practicing so far this week include Deontay Johnson with that knee, Marcus Allen with some sort of abdomen injury, Justin Lane with an Achilles going the wrong way there, so that's discouraging. Alex Highsmith with the groin, and Carlos Davis with a knee. So that's a lot of information. There are a lot of names there. Right now, it looks like that Bush, Hayden, Ben are going to play in this one. Watt, I think so. We'll see. The other guys, today will be a big day for them.
Absolutely. We have a lot to look for later on today, and it really is tough to get a good read on some of these guys, especially based on what kind of Mike Tomlin said about Deontay Johnson earlier in the week there. Man, 2 days in a row did not practice with a knee. You can maybe understand Wednesday, makes you kind of worry about Thursday there. If he does anything on Friday, maybe that's going to be it would obviously be a great sign for him. But if he, I would think that he would be at questionable at best come the end of this end of today. Ben, passive aggressive Ben is back, by the way. So
did he ever leave?
Maybe, but he's definitely back this week. We know for sure that passive-aggressive Ben is back. So I think passive-aggressive Ben plays. I would be surprised if he doesn't. You mentioned Joe Hayden and Devin Bush sounding like they're going to be back. Doesn't sound great for Carlos Davis in that knee right now. Watt, there's a couple of good pictures up on the Steelers site of him kind of going through the motion there, and the fact that he's been listed limited twice in a row. I would imagine today's the day. They're going to try to ramp him up a little bit there and see how he goes. So I would tend to say yes, but groins are tricky, as Mike Tomlin would say. Alex Highsmith, I don't have a clue. I mean, that thing must have really gotten tight on him after the game, because it seemed like he played a large amount of the snaps there. As you mentioned, Justin Lane going the wrong way with the Achilles there. That doesn't sound great, and we'll have to find out what the heck's going on with Marcus Allen and that abdomen there. So it might not be hard to put together the inactive list this week.
Yeah, or it might be too difficult because you don't know about which names are which here. So, yeah, with Watt, I mean, it is tricky. I think you still tested it in pregame warmups and go from there. I think he will play, even if he's limited today on Friday. I mean, he's a guy who can practice limited or not practice at all, as we saw, heading into week one and be good to go. So I think he'll play. Highsmith not looking good. It seems like that groin injury might bug him the entire year because he showed up there before week one even began, and just something he might have to play through. So we'll see, but the team will be getting back some guys, and obviously at least getting Joe Hayden and Devin Bush back. That almost seems certain to happen. That's a really positive sign.
Can we just go ahead and insert the bye week right here and take a volunteered bye week here for some of these guys to get
ready?
Don't
even say that, because a year ago they had a week 4 bye week,
that's true.
Which was not planned.
You would be correct, sir. Look, we'll get a little bit of better idea, maybe on at least some of on a couple of these outside linebackers come Saturday before 4:00, I think, because if you end up promoting, one or two of these guys, Tuska or Taco Charlton, then that'll be a pretty good sign that maybe one of these guys, at least one of them, might be down there. You're obviously going to have Jamir Jones in uniform, Melvin Ingram in uniform. You would think at least one of Watt or Highsmith. At least that's what I'm kind of betting on there. Mm-hmm. And then
let's make our prediction. No, the injury report hasn't even come out yet on Friday, but Ben, he's going to play. Do you think he's going to play?
Yes.
Okay.
Passive aggressive Ben always
which
plays.
Which might be the best version of Ben, the Ben they need right now. Deontay, is he going to play?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I think it's no. I'd be pretty surprised at this point. I don't think he'll miss it long term, maybe one game, but I don't think he plays. Hayden obviously going to play. I'm pretty sure, right? And then Allen and Lane, those are probably harder to determine. So
I'll say Lane no. I'll say Allen yes.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. Bush going to play?
Yes.
Highsmith?
Oh man, that's the hard one.
No.
I'll say no too, because it's weird that he's not worked yet, So I'll say, here's hoping we're the bunch wrong on this. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. I'll say no.
Carlos Davis?
No.
It's kind of like he's going to sit out again. Ebron obviously going to go, and then T.J. Watt, will he play?
I'll say yes.
All right, I'm with you. So I think we're in agreement across the board, basically.
So how many no's are we? Got Carlos Davis no, Deontay no, Lane no, Highsmith no. Is at least 4 that we have no's on.
Yeah.
Who else?
Did you mention Davis? Was Davis part of that 4?
Yes.
Okay, so then those are the 4 that we're projecting. And so that would leave you potentially with just one other inactive, which would, I assume, be Dwayne Haskins.
There you go.
So there's your list. All right.
That's it. That's the list, or what we think. It obviously won't go perfect like that. If it does, then good sleuthing work on us this week.
With so much injury report news, be sure to check out Steelers Depot. We'll have the full report, so it's easier, I think, to read injury reports than it is maybe to hear about it. But check it out on Steelers Depot a little bit later on Friday, and we'll get some official game statuses for these guys, and there'll be plenty of them, unfortunately. All right, Dave, keep following.
And be around the computer, too, around 4 o'clock Eastern time, because that's if any elevations happen. We haven't seen any yet from this team, but if any do happen, that's when they will be announced, and we'll have them up on the site.
Will that be today or tomorrow?
That'll be tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow, Saturday after 4, right?
Or right before 4, right before 4, yeah.
Yeah, well, right. All right, Dave, Keith Butler, Matt Canada spoke with the media yesterday, and I don't know if they had a whole lot to say that was super interesting. Matt Canada is very good at the coach speak kind of thing, very much just about I got to be better, which is fine, all well and good, but doesn't make for a great conversation between us. So any main takeaways from either what Canada said versus what Keith Butler said?
No, and Canada's good at not saying a whole lot of nothing. At least Randy Fietner would there were a couple things usually worth kind of writing about there. I think we were able to pull a couple of things out of this press conference there, but I don't think anything really earth shattering. Just one of what he had the guys open downfield. I think we had guys open downfield. We just have to do a better job connecting. I have to find a better way of setting them up to answer your question to get them more open. We had matchups that didn't work, so therefore they weren't as open as they needed to be. I mean, just a lot of word salad, right? I mean, basically we didn't learn too terribly much there. What was the main thing that stuck out to you here? The offensive line getting closer?
Yeah, in that aspect of things, they talk about how close things are to working, and we talked about this throughout the week. Zach Banner commented on it. We did a video on Steelers Depot that went up yesterday that kind of illustrated 4 plays where everything got blocked up well except for one guy not executing his responsibility, his job, and it was different guys. It was Kendrick Green, it was Zach Gentry, it was Pat Freiermuth, and so if you just get that one extra block made, it turns a run that goes nowhere into a run that may go for a big successful play. And so that's how close things are. But as Canada said, as we said in the video, close doesn't cut it. I mean, this isn't horseshoes and hand grenades over here. So you got to actually do the job and not just talk about being close to doing the job.
Absolutely, and they're going to have to start getting that cleaned up. I mean, here we are 3 games in. This will be the 3rd game here. You would think around the quarter pole mark, right, or thereabouts. You better start seeing things go in the other direction. In the first 2 weeks so far, we've seen a lot of almost, but they almost cracked that one. And and even on a couple of ones that they have cracked, there've been cracks, in it there. So it's time that they clean this up. And unfortunately, a lot of what we're seeing, I mean, not all of it, obviously. I mean, I think you did some good stuff even on the one pin and pull. You must have thought the play I was talking about the other day with, I think, Gentry was the pin and pull play that you highlighted. I was talking about one where they were lined up on the other side there, and I'm sure you've seen that one by now as well, too, there. But once again, it's not just one person making these mistakes, but I'll tell you what, your eyes certainly tend to find that Kendrick Green seems to be in the middle of a couple of these, right?
Yeah, he was part of the 2 of the 4 runs that we showed was Green not making a block. Now, the one was tougher out in space. The second one, there was a down block. He's got to execute. If he does that, Harris is one-on-one with the safety, and he may score on that play. So things to work on for sure, but it's not just Green. I mean, it's everybody, so I don't want to pin it all on the rookie. But, the line is close, but, a lot of teams in the NFL are probably close. You got to get there, and that's all that really matters.
Right, and we talk about this like I know people think, boy, you're criticizing this like it's the Steelers are the only team that this happens to. No, I mean, you could go game by game across the NFL and pick out a lot of running plays where, oh man, if they would have made that one block, they probably cracked that. And we get that. But the thing is there seems to be a higher percentage of fails when it comes to the Steelers right now, at least through these first 2 games. And it's getting them out of their running game. It's obviously they're not being able to stay on the field and then get a good menu of plays out there. And if you can't get a good amount of plays out there to get a bunch of different looks from the defense, then it's hard to make adjustments off of that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a trickle down effect, if you will, of not having this running game going. And once again, I just got to emphasize that it's not the big thing that you're not running a lot. Is that you're not running effectively when you are running. And if you do run effective early, it generally most of the time ends up with you being in a position to at least attempt to run throughout the rest of the game effectively. And then more importantly, maybe you're taking the air out of the football at the end of it there. So it really is a trickle-down effect all the way around there. And it's got to start getting better because, we saw Ben Roethlisberger throw exactly 40 times in this game against the Raiders. We saw the hits that he took. I mean, he is on pace to take and it's only, you hate these kind of two game sample sizes they're on pace for, but it is astonishing. 102 hits is what he's on pace to have, and that would be double the 51 that he had last season. So, obviously that's, you're not going to have, or at least you hope you're not going to. You better have games where he's not getting hit 10 times.
He won't get to 102. His body won't last until 102 hits.
And the way you kind of mitigate a lot of that is to not have him have to drop back as much there. So, you spent. Art Rooney II cannot be a happy man heading into Week 3, I don't think, with all the emphasis that talked about being able to run the football better, and are actually running the football worse than they were 2 weeks into. We talked about during the offseason, right, Alex? Oh, well, at least it can't get any worse, right? Well, oops. Wrong. Sorry, folks, but there have been some bright spots in there. They just got to start putting it all together, and this would be a good week to start putting it all together in.
It would, yeah. We knew growing pains would exist. This thing wasn't going to be perfect out of the gate, but it doesn't make it any easier to watch when they're struggling, and it's contributing to losses, and the offense does not look dramatically different. Yeah, I mean, again, sample sizes are small, but last year just under 10% of their runs went for negative yards. This year, through 2 games, it's up to 19%, just a little bit under. And so you want to see those numbers come way down. And as Matt Canada said, they just have to be on the field more. They just aren't running a lot of plays. There's been talks about why isn't Harris running the football more, or why isn't Ben using more play action? They're just not on the field a lot. They have 111 plays from scrimmage in 2 games. That's 28th in football. And it's not like they're getting big plays with passing plays and things like that. That's, limiting long drives. They're just being inefficient. They're not winning on 3rd down. And so Matt Canada said literally yesterday, quote, "We have to be on the field more. Our number of plays has been too low." And he's certainly right about that. So it's better on 1st down, which ultimately makes you a better team on 3rd down. 2 areas this offense has really struggled in so far.
We're going to have to start, if this continues, Tom Mead's going to have to take a pay deduction, isn't he?
Yeah, right. I'm getting stuck with the massive charting over here. Tom gets us in like 5 minutes. I take like 3 days to do it.
We're kidding, Tom. We love you.
No,
you do a great job there. Just having a little fun, and he's not having to chart nearly as much as you are in some of these games here. Matt Canada was asked, let's see, will the amount of plays you have for no huddle and the offense change? Look, he says it's a week-to-week deal. That's the least thing on my mind right now is no huddle offense. I mean, you would like to see them be able to go no tempo more, but now if they're gonna or up tempo, they have no tempo. They're running a no tempo offense right there. You would like to see them maybe run some up tempo at some points in the game, but not if they're going to up tempo right into a 3 and out. And put the defense back out on the field. Analytically, he was asked, is there a number or stat that you're looking at that you need to get better in? The question was open-ended, yards per attempt or yards per play. He says, I think you're right. It's points scored. It's every game. I've said I'm always going to say the same thing. Every game is so different, but obviously we've got to do things better. We have to be on the field more. Our number of plays has been low the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we had a blocked punt, and okay, maybe that was part of it or whatever. This week, we've got to do a better job of staying on the field. Obviously, if it's 3rd down, part of that is running the ball. There's a lot of different things that you look at, so I don't want to narrow it down to just one. We have to do better. I mean, yeah, that's the long and short of it. I mean, if you're running more plays, and that either the other team is scoring super quick, I guess, or you're staying on the field and converting some 3rd downs and things of that nature there. So once again, didn't learn, I don't think, too terribly much from Matt Canada.
And Kevin Colbert has actually just handed me a note saying that Matt Canada has been fired for a too analytical answer to go into points scored when asking about what analytics he's really looking into. Yeah, points scored is the name of the game, obviously. And this Steelers team is not scoring many points. And they've only put up 7 points in the first half of the first 2 games. So that's an unacceptable number. It's putting them behind. It's not giving them a chance to play with a lead, which they've barely gotten to do this year, aside from the basically fourth quarter of the Bills game. And it's got to get better, and hopefully Bengals will be the cure.
First down is something that you hit on, after the Raiders game that we've talked about already a little bit as well too. You got to get to 4 yards or more on first down. This offense with Ben Roethlisberger is going to be so predicated on how they do on first down, period. I mean, and yeah, you could go across the league with that, but where he's at right now, you just can't get into the second and long or the third and long situations. You just can't. You have to. Roethlisberger is going to be a better quarterback for you if teams are wondering, are they going to run or are they going to pass on like a 2nd and 4 or 2nd and 5? And if you can get yourself in a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2, if you have to get in a third down situation at all there. So, he's going to take his shots down the field occasionally. And if he hits, good. If he doesn't, then it's usually a sign of a bad sign overall, because especially if they're not running the football, because it seems to really have been feast or famine with this team, especially down the field more than let's say 16 yards in the air. And if they can't catch short, run long, then I mean really, really doomed.
Yeah, that was the state of things last year, and through 2 games, it's the state of things this year. No, I do want to say, not to be all doom and gloom. I think this line can get better. I think they will get better. I think these issues are wholly correctable. They aren't necessarily physical issues where the guys aren't athletic enough or strong enough or big enough, and they just won't get the job done. It is just a lot of those little things, and I think it can get better. And I think it will get better again, as I said on Monday and throughout the week. It's a question of how quickly and how significantly will things get better. I can't answer that right now, but I do think it will get better.
Well, the good thing is we're not seeing 3 people ruining a play. Most of the time, especially on the runs, it is one person. The problem is it's a different person. You don't know. It's like a roulette wheel. You don't know who the person is, but the play design there, things are working the way that they're supposed to work, sans one defensive guy ruining it, You're taking something that looks like it's going to crack for 6, 7, 12 yards, and then it goes for 2 or 3. And that's the difference. I really look forward to – I'm with you. I mean – they're going to crack some at some point. We just need a higher percentage of them cracking some. It'd be nice to sit there on the Twitter machine and say, look at how this thing split open like a ripe watermelon, just the way it's supposed to, that it didn't do the first 2 weeks of the season there. So they obviously got a good running. It's not Najee's fault, although there's been a play or two where maybe I think you'd like to see him press the line more. I think he's still getting a little bit more comfortable with the speed of the game and all the intricacies that go along with running behind a new offensive line. So yeah, I mean, here we are two weeks into the season. We're not throwing the whole baby out with the bathwater, but we got to start seeing it get better, plain and simple.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the name of the game. Keith Butler, speaking with the media as well, had some interesting comments on the touchdown allowed by the Steelers, a 61-yarder by Henry Ruggs, and Keith Butler taking the blame for it, saying, maybe I shouldn't have called that dadgum defense.
You know what? We have hit on this, and he wanted to do it, but he didn't do it. He wanted to point the finger heavily at Norwood on that play. And rightfully so, really. And did you watch the inside the NFL piece on that?
No, I have not.
They had the little vignettes of the games, and it was a quick run through of the Steelers-Raiders game. But they really have a good close up of Norwood at the snap of the football and kind of that sidestep. He had the Ole, the wide receiver, coming out of the bunch. Right. That caused a little bit of a delayed blitz on the play there. And then, I mean, you can visibly see. Now, look, was he trying to maybe be a little worried about some contain or something on the outside? Possibly. But, I mean, your job is to get home, try to get the quarterback off the spot at that point. We can complain about Carr avoiding him and running around the end for 15 yards, maybe. Maybe that's another talk there. But the key is there to, in that situation, your job is to get home and affect any kind of pocket throw, and he didn't do that. And they had a good shot on that on inside the NFL, kind of that last little sidestep, because he didn't take the perfect angle on that.
Right.
And long story short, and you've obviously seen the end zone view and all like that, and Keith Butler said as much yesterday. He really wanted to put a lot of it on Norwood not getting home there, but that to me played a big part in there, because if Norwood's there, another 2/3 of a second earlier, then that throw probably doesn't happen. At least not on the money.
No, it does not happen. Yeah, that's a perfect encapsulation of rush and coverage going together. Whether rush doesn't get home and it affects the coverage. Now Mika's got to do his job as well. He doesn't absolve him of everything, but Norwood just was a little slow and just a little tight trying to change directions, and that goes back to that combine number. His 3-cone time, for whatever it's worth, was 7.65, and you kind of feel a little bit of tightness there in that lower half as he tries to change directions. And if he was just a little bit quicker to do so, a little more downhill, a little more aggressive, he gets home, and that play never happens.
And, Butler's saying if you're going to be tied to the post, you got to be tied to the post. Okay, yeah, but I mean, you win it. I can understand why he was wanting to bite on that Waller on the out, and especially if he knew that there was a blitz on the play, probably thinking there's no, the odds here of Carr tossing this thing 50 something yards over my head versus the odds of Carr hitting Waller on that out. Probably going to go with the odds on Waller on the out there. So yeah, I mean, he's going to stomp his feet in that situation, I think, and expectedly so. And not to say, boy, that was a great fail, but he did do a good job of getting flipped and almost impacting the play.
Yeah, but we know what almost impacting the play means.
It's a touchdown, but
right.
I mean,
I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying. If Norwood does what he's supposed to do, and maybe if Keller Witherspoon does a little bit better job staying on that shoulder, a lot of ifs. But I think it does go back to, I think Norwood maybe learned a valuable rush lesson on that play.
Yeah, don't rush him. Find someone else. I don't know. That's kind of the takeaway there. But yeah, Norwood's got to get home on that play. So I think it's him and Minka as kind of the primary culprits of why that play succeeded.
I mean, that's we talked about. Boy, it'd been nice to have Mike Hilton on that one. That's one little intricacy I think we need to watch moving forward here, especially with who they choose in the slot. There is how they blitz them, when they blitz them, and the effectiveness of the blitz. And look, props to Derek Carr, because it had been very easy. The thing is Norwood, I guess he's scared, at least bump him or something, at the end of that. And he really just kind of tailed off at the end once that ball was in the air. I mean, it's a great ball by Carr to stay in and all like that. But anyway, we've talked about that play enough. What else did Butler have to say?
Jamir Jones had some good comments you wrote up yesterday on Jamir Jones, saying he has good hands, a good pass rush plan, and obviously his role could be elevated this week, assuming that one of Watt or Highsmith can't play. If that's the case, then Jamir Jones presumably will be the number 3, assuming that at least one of Watt and Highsmith can play in this one. So Jamir Jones should see a continued uptick in snaps, and hopefully he can provide some pass rush juice.
Yeah, what did he play? He played like 15 snaps. You charted it against the Raiders, I think, and I think most of them came on the left side. That seems to be the side that they feel they have a little bit more comfort on him in. I think it's something like a 10-5 split or something like that.
I mean, it makes sense since Watt was out. I mean, I guess probably some more snaps on the left side for the taking here. Let me.
Which side do you think is his better side?
I don't know if there is one, to be honest. He's played both in the preseason. He probably played more right outside linebackers, but
he came into it seems like in the preseason he would come into the game and start on the right side, and then once like Cassius Marsh left, he would flip over to the left side, and then that's when Quincy Roche would come in on the right spot there. So maybe the right side is potentially his better spot. He hasn't been, I'll tell you what, just in preseason snaps, and it's only been 16 regular season snaps so far. He hasn't stuck out, but it's a small sample size on top of it. Of course, obviously, probably half of those were runs or whatnot. So, hopefully we don't have to see a lot of them. But if we do, you can bet he might be a good player to do a film room on this week, especially going up against that former Alabama tackle over there, former first-round pick, if he lines up on that side.
Jonah Williams, 15 snaps outside linebacker, 12 at left outside linebacker, 3 at right outside linebacker. So that's a split there. So pretty good, pretty close guess there, Dave. So we'll probably see more Jamir Jones, and obviously we'll see if Taco and Tuska get called up. By the way, as we suspected, quick credit to you and Tyler and Jonathan. Taco Charlton is going to play outside linebacker for the Steelers. So Keith Butler confirmed that on Friday or on Thursday.
Score one for the Depot tape team.
Yeah, for sure. So anything else there from Canada or Butler? Probably not a whole lot to talk. We didn't have a whole lot interesting, I think, to write or talk about there.
No, not good questions being asked, and that usually tends to lead to that kind of stuff there. What about anything that maybe you handled most of the Cam Hayward interview, right? Melvin Ingram, boy, that guy just does. I am so impressed with Melvin Ingram from every aspect. And I know he's old, and I know the likelihood of them probably re-signing him might be low. But boy, if you and obviously we'll see how this year plays out with him and all. But, man, if there's one guy that you'd like to at least be able to hang around this organization for at least one more season past this season, I think it's him. I mean, just every aspect of what that guy does on the field, off the field, you name it. I have become a huge Melvin Ingram fan since his signing. And he met the media yesterday, really had some really straightforward stuff. And then there's also an interview Missy Matthews on Steelers.com did with him this morning as well, too. So I just wanted to get that out there once again that I call him the Melvin. That's what I like to refer to him as, because, I mean, that guy's like an entity all to himself.
Yeah, he's been fantastic and more important than ever before the first 2 weeks, I guess, considering the injuries there to Highsmith and TJ Watt. Yeah, Hayward, standard, Hayward self, his perspective and calmness is always key. He sat there and said, I'm not here acting like the season's over. This team's 1-1. The whole AFC North is 1-1. So I think that's a good calming influence for people not to ride this emotional roller coaster of a big win over the Bills, followed by a disappointing loss to the Raiders. Clean slate, week 3. Let's just, approach it and try to get to victory.
A couple of the quotes that Melvin had. He was asked about groin injuries or what Highsmith now dealing with. He's asked if he's ever had to battle through one himself. He says, "Nah, don't put that on me. I don't want none of that." And I thought of the Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby? And then later on he says, "Look," and he was asked, "Well, it sure seems like these groin injuries are contagious." And it probably the money quote of the week, to be honest with you. Ain't nothing contagious. We've got to make winning contagious. That's the only thing we want to be contagious. So that you can wrap that whole interview up right in that alone, and that's exactly right. The only thing that needs to be contagious right now is they need to make winning contagious. They don't need to sulk about these injuries and all that, because all these teams in the NFL go through some sort of string of injuries. If you want, boy, look at the Carolina Panthers last night, losing Christian McCaffrey to a hamstring injury and J.C. Horn to a fractured foot. So both those guys are probably going to be sidelined multiple games, and those are two very integral parts, one each on both sides of the football for them. So kudos to Melvin Ingram there, and he talked about with Missy this morning about that spin move and how Dwight Freeney was he really watched and admired how Dwight Freeney utilized that. So that's worth checking out there.
Yeah, for sure. That contagious quote has kind of a whole different meaning in over these past 2 years. And I'm going to jinx it here, and so I'm not going to write it and tweet it because people will old takes expose me. But kudos to the Steelers from a COVID situation. They've not had a positive COVID case or anyone go in protocol or anything the entire year. And I mean, things can change quickly. There's no guarantee of what's going to happen in the future, but everyone seems to be doing the right things and doing what they have to do. So kudos to them.
Absolutely. And Isaiah Buggs also talked to the media, and that was the subject of my terrible take yesterday. Look, there's some big shoes to fill here with Isaiah Buggs starting this week. And obviously at the tail end of last week, he played 20-something snaps, I think, after Tyson Alu went out of the game there. some big shoes to fill, period. And it's going to start against the Bengals, obviously, on Sunday there. And, he really didn't say anything or he didn't say anything earth-shattering there, just grateful for the opportunity. But this is a huge turning point, or line in the sand, if you will, when it comes to Isaiah Buggs in his NFL career. I mean, either he's going to show that he can be a starting player in this league and an impactful one, beginning Sunday against the Bengals, or these next 2 or 3 weeks it's just going to be an also ran, and then that's probably going to end up being a backup, a minimum salary player for maybe another year or two, and then that's it. So he's going to have an opportunity here, especially with Carlos Davis looking like he's going to be down at least another game with that knee injury here, to show what he can do. And you go back to that game last season against Baltimore, a couple of nice plays in that game, but this is also a guy that's played not even 250 defensive snaps so far during his NFL career. And he's going to start really, you would imagine at least 20 or 25 to 30 a game, at least for the foreseeable future here. Going to have to put the tape profile on him these next couple weeks. If he can withstand the test here, and the Steelers, boy, they sure need him to, especially until Stephon Tuitt, gets back on one of those ends. But even so, the way that Alualu would work in concert with both Cameron Hayward and Tyson Alualu was something to behold, especially on some of these stunts and crashing and all like that there. So it's more than just manning your guy up and stopping the run and swimming over the top of him for a pressure. That's obviously a big part of what needs to be done, but it's helping your teammates out and making them better with giving yourself up on several plays on top of it.
Yeah, well said. Stop the run. The big thing for Buggs to begin with. Obviously, you want to see him grow as a pass rusher and sub-package guy, but the first mission is to be a 3-4 base nose tackle, stop the run, and the Bengals are a team that's going to run the football quite a bit. I think Joe Mixon has the second most carries in the NFL through the first 2 games, and so clogging up the middle, keeping linebackers free and clean, holding the point of attack, staying on your feet, running to the football, all those things will be the foundational stuff for Isaiah Buggs.
What are your expectations when it comes to him?
I think he's played well. I mean, he's had a really good summer. This was such a big make-or-break summer for him. He was a guy that was on the bubble to me heading into this season. He had a really good battle. It was, at the time, a very deep defensive line. I haven't seen necessarily a bunch of newness from him as a pass rusher and things like that in terms of his get-off and hand use. He's still below average and kind of poor there, but I think he's been stout against the run, and I think he does a good job to control blocks and block shed in the run game. But obviously, we'll start getting a much bigger and more important test beginning Sunday.
And it was a small sample size coming out of that Raiders game there, taking over obviously for Alualu. I thought he played pretty well overall. He had a missed tackle in there, but other than that, if he's probably one of the top 3 or 4 performers, at least for the players that maybe played 20 or more snaps in that game overall. I thought in that game against the Raiders, especially if and you can't just take away a missed tackle, but you see that was really one of the only things that really kind of stuck out with me there. And this is a guy that we've talked about, entered the NFL as a better pass rusher than he was against the run. So yeah, you're right. The big thing with him, especially this week against a team like the Bengals, I think, you better be stout in the middle when you're in the game and that 3-4 base in the middle of it, because they're going to probably try to run the ball quite a bit with Joe Mixon there. And if the Steelers are able to shut down the run early and get some sort of lead, they can kind of make this Bengals team a little bit more one-dimensional and have Burrow drop back probably more than he wants to drop back in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue to talk about the Bengals in this one. A 1-1 team who played 2 close games so far to start this season, though. Overtime win against the Vikings week 1 and a 3-point loss to the Bears in week 2. To me, this is just a better Bengals team than we've seen in past years. Obviously, they get Joe Burrow back, who did not play in the second meeting against Pittsburgh last year, although the Bengals still won that game with Ryan Finley at quarterback. They have Jamar Chase. The offensive line, I think, has taken some small steps forward. It's still, I think, the weakness of the team. They've been an empty a lot. They spread the field out quite a bit. Burrow's taken 9 sacks because of it. So that's something maybe to look at and to really highlight in this one. But to me, it is a better Bengals team, offense and defense, than we've seen the past maybe couple seasons.
And one of the things that jumped out to me the moment I turned on the game against the Bears last week was the fact that, man, they run a lot of empty. And I don't know, I didn't get a chance to go deeper into against the game against the Vikings. I don't suppose they ran as much empty in that game.
Correct.
Because how could you? I mean, they ran a lot, especially early against the Bears there. But they're, I imagine, and look, they run a lot of the same stuff, right, up front. They run, especially in the running game, they run some duo, they run some inside zone, they run split zone, a lot of stuff. They might use a fullback a little bit differently in some of that stuff, more so than what we see the Steelers do, obviously. But they haven't been. Their run game has been better than the Steelers' run game has been, but not by a lot, I don't think. But even so, you have a guy in Joe Mixon that if you get him going early in the game, it can it can snowball into a run downhill type situation. He's very, very good on the edge. Obviously, if you get him outside there, and if you give him any kind of a crease up the middle, he can home run you in a hurry there. So I think you're going to see them, assuming they. I find it hard to imagine they're going to come out running as much empty as they did against the Bears.
Yeah, I would say so, especially because the way that the Bills did it, which I suspect is the way that the Bengals would do it more, is kind of more lighter personnel, didn't work as well. Maybe if they come out in heavier personnel with multiple tight ends, the way that the Raiders did, that might be more effective, but that seems to be a little less of their MO in terms of where their personnel strengths are. But it depends on what happens with T. Higgins, their good receiver, who may miss this game with, I think, a shoulder injury.
Yeah, he is not practiced, and also the left guard, I think, is not practicing yet either. So it'd be interesting to watch the injury report with both those guys. Look, they have a great wide receiver unit there. Rookie Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, obviously more of a vertical threat there, and then Tyler Boyd, probably one of the least talked about, upper tier wide receivers in the league. A guy that Mike Tomlin, always talks about his toughness and ability to play not only in the slot but move around there. I'm not so sure, and obviously if they come out in a lot of empty, I single high that quite a bit. Try to take away the middle of the field and then man up as much as I can. One thing that has stuck out in the limited amount of tape that I've seen on Joe Burrow, and then on the box score scouting side of it as well too, is he's not very good down the football field, especially more than 16 yards down the field here. This is a guy that I think you want to force to throw outside the numbers more than 15 yards down the field. That's where you want him to have to beat you at, I think. And even the late touchdown that they had against the Vikings there, to Jamar, or not Vikings, the Bears down the right-hand side, Jamar just ran. It wasn't a good coverage overall, I don't think. And Jamar had to wait on the ball a little bit there. So it wasn't a strong arm throw on top of it there. So I want Burrow to have to obviously throw a lot in this game. I want to have him wait in the pocket and not get that ball out as quickly either, especially in empty situations. With all those eligibles and Mixon lined up wide and all like that there. I think if you do that and get a couple of hits on him, his eyes might not be down the field as much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that was the game plan Pittsburgh had in their first meeting against Burrow last year, because the biggest issue with Joe Burrow is that lack of arm strength. And so they really played a lot of too high, two-man coverage, trail technique, taking away inside breaking routes, taking away stuff middle of the field, and forcing those throws outside the numbers. And so I would say force Burrow to throw to the field side, the open side, and throw outside the numbers. It's kind of the approach this team took last year, and probably the same approach they take this year. Bracketing Tyler Boyd on third down, a top weapon for them, especially if Higgins can't play. If all those guys play, it becomes harder to bracket one particular guy, because it creates one-on-one matchups everywhere else, and limits yourself coverage-wise and schematically. But yeah, I think that's the approach this team's going to take, is force Burrow to make those high-level throws outside the numbers and try to break on the football if those passes tend to float, and especially if pressure can get home as well.
I mean, you're playing right into his hands if you're getting in third and short situations with him where he's not having to throw, for the chains, 6-7 yards down the field. And obviously, if you can get their offense behind the sticks later in the game and on the scoreboard as well too, where you can put them in situations where you can tee off on them. I'm not convinced he's 100% comfortable yet, and a lot of quarterbacks, you see that coming off that injury. It takes him a little time, and he was still a rookie when that happened anyway, so it wasn't like he was settled into his NFL career just yet. Anyway, so there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, with him still, and I want him to. I think you can robber him, and maybe get a cheap one that way with him thinking he's seeing one thing against maybe a cover one, and you have somebody rob him in the middle of the field. I think that's one way to get him. And then the other way there, I think, is a lot of incompleted balls deep down the field. You can't give him the easy throw that down the sideline, like the one with Jamar Chase. They didn't do a great job of moving that football at all in that game against the Bears until late.
Right. Yeah, they were down 2 scores, I think, until late in that one and tried to rally and came up short. Yeah, I'm with you. I would do a lot of safety rotations and coverage disguises, and then probably amp up the blitz package and throw a little bit more at Burrow in this offensive line and see how they respond more than we've seen the first 2 weeks when you're facing better, talented, stronger on quarterbacks and Allen and Carr. When you blitz, when you throw a little bit more, they can make you pay. Burrow's a guy I really want to attack and go after.
And I had my guard sides flipped up. It's Xavier Suafilo is the right guard, not the left guard. Spain is the left guard, and boy, Cameron Hayward ought to 3 weeks in a row. He ought to be able to eat against Spain and Hopkins, you would think.
Yeah, we'll see a big matchup there on the left side. As you said, Jonah Williams, who's the kind of forgotten first-round pick. A lot of Bengals fans thought and expected Sewell would be the left tackle. Obviously, they passed on him for Chase, and so Williams is the guy on the blind side. And so that'll be a big matchup there for whoever's playing there, whether that's Highsmith or Ingram or Jamir Jones, however they kind of divvy up those snaps.
How would you rate their top 3 wide receivers in Boyd, Higgins, and obviously the rookie Jamar Chase against the Steelers' top 3 of Chase Claypool, Juju, and Deontay?
Yeah, it's a really good comparison. It's close.
It's right there.
Yeah, I think I still take the Steelers group. Maybe they're a little bit more just proven in general, but they're both, they have different skill sets. I mean, the way that Chase wins versus the way that Higgins wins versus the way that Boyd wins is different, just in the way that Johnson and Juju and Claypool all kind of have more defined, specific skill sets. So they're similar groups for sure. I mean, Chase, the upside could be huge, and he's been a big play threat so far. 2 catches already at 40-plus yards, so you got to keep a lid on him. That speed that you saw last week doesn't get any easier this week or any less. So I think they're both really quality wide receiver groups.
Here's a question that I came up with last night, and I'm glad I remembered to ask it here.
Oh, gosh. I can already hear you smiling. So
yeah, if you could trade a 1-for-1 wide receiver from the Steelers for a wide receiver on the Bengals, all right? Or you were forced to, not could you? I don't want to give you an out here. Okay. If you're forced to trade one wide receiver of their top 3 for one of the Bengals' top 3 wide receivers today, what's the 1-for-1?
Oh, man, that's a good question.
And that's normally we stay away from these hypotheticals, yeah. But I mean, I guess what I'm getting at here is this is a pretty comparable wide receiver group overall, and I'm just kind of wondering which one you would sacrifice to get one from one of theirs.
Yeah, I was going to punt if you gave me the out, so I'm mad that I don't have the out anymore. I mean, I think I was asked about this yesterday, like who's the better receiver group in my mailbag. You could rank these things in Pittsburgh. They're really close, but I have Claypool as the 3rd of the top 3. So I would, I guess, trade Claypool for – I'm going to go Jamar Chase for that big playability. I think as you mentioned and as you talked about with Mike Wallace, you saw your tweets about it. You want to get that big play, big speed, true burner type of guy. And I think his offense has missed that for quite some time. So short answer, I would trade Claypool for Jamar Chase.
What did T. Higgins run?
I don't think he was that fast coming out of Clemson. He's a bigger body combat catch. I mean, he's played well. I think he's a little more athletic than maybe his testing is, but I don't think he ran or tested great. I think I kind of tested poorly, actually.
Did he?
4.59 as
okay.
pro day, 31-inch vert. So I mean, he's a 6'3", 220-pound guy. So I mean, he wins he wins like kind of like a Juju.
All right. I'm with you. What is the big fault with Chase Claypool right now? What is the biggest hole with Chase Claypool's game?
I would just say trying to find that consistency. And obviously it's a little bit tougher because he's more of a downfield guy. And so you're never going to be as consistent as you're going to be as a Deontay running slants and Juju running option routes that are, 5-10-yard throws. And so I think that context is important, but just, being able to win some of those downfield balls a little more often, showing the hands a little bit more, stacking receivers, as you said, a bit more, or stacking corners a little bit more consistently. So I think just trying to find that general consistency and routinely making those big plays, which I shouldn't say, are routine because they're not, but you want to see it a little more often, I think.
But do you think people are starting to maybe now see the one huge knock that at least I had on Chase Claypool, and that was the ability to vertically stack consistently? He's not going to run. He's not going to run by a lot of cornerbacks in this league. And look, he did a great job on that one against the Raiders, that deep ball there. But even so, wasn't clean on it. Normally, if you get stacked and you get the ball in your hands that deep over the top, you better. A lot of these burners in the NFL be in the end zone with it. He wasn't.
Right. And when you don't do that consistently, and you're combating every catch, then you're going to lose out on a lot of those in the NFL just because the corner level is so high. And so it just is a tough place to play when you're doing a lot of those combat catches, even if you're going to win a couple of them, which is basically what happened against the Raiders.
And obviously, look, I'm a huge James Washington fan as far as him being able to catch the football and use it in right situations. He was never one that's going to run away from people at the NFL level. Look, if there's one guy that can get over the top maybe on some people, it's Deontay on this team right now,
Yeah, because of the separation, not just because of his speed, but just his route running.
Right. His route running and his ability to separate at the top of the routes makes him probably the best. He's probably the best deep threat, or he is the best deep threat on this team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get a lot of looks there. Claypool, I think, I don't know. It's close. They need to have a more defined deep threat. These offenses historically, the last 20 years, have been at their best when they've had a Nate Washington or a Mike Wallace. It would be nice to get that true 4-3 type of burner. And I get those guys don't grow on trees and things like that, but it would be nice to have that just beep beep speed kind of a guy.
I can't wait to see what Romeo Doubs runs.
Is he He's a fast guy? What's his?
Yeah. He sure does get on top of some.
Is he a big guy?
He is a big-ish guy. Hold on a minute. Let me get the measure.
What's his overall, 6 foot, big-ish? I don't know how to interpret that.
Man,
6 foot, 200 kind of guy?
I've got Nevada bad, man. I have got it bad.
I know. We got to get you out of the state.
6'2", 200 pounds.
Okay.
It's hard to get here we go. Nevada played against Kansas State, obviously, this past weekend. They lost, and it wasn't Carson Strong's best game, but really it was the Nevada, stacking up player for player competition wise against a better school, a bigger program like Kansas State. There are certain matchups that they just weren't going to win. Their offensive line didn't do a good job and all like that. And Carson Strong, obviously it wasn't his best game overall, but boy, there was a throw. I don't know if you saw the clip that I put on Twitter. Drop one right down the middle of the field to Romeo Doubs right in the bucket, 53-yard throw there. So, and that's not uncommon for Romeo to get down the field there. But what I'm getting at here, I mean, he's got that kind of that Plaxico feel to him, Okay. There. But I circling this thing back, and I tweeted at Mike Wallace having a little bit of fun a couple of days ago. This team needs a guy that Ben could just see how far he can throw it, see if someone can go get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he doesn't have that.
I agree.
And that really impacts this team, especially at this stage of Roethlisberger's career right now, to not have that, oh, crap, speed guy, the guy that you just throw it out. I mean, how many touchdowns over the years has Ben had that throw it out there, Mike Wallace and Martavis Bryant, go get it,
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice to have. And it's not to. I mean, this is a good receiver core overall, but that is one specific component that is missing.
Right, and it seems like right now, and hope, man, I love to be able to prove me wrong this week. I mean, we have seen instances where Ben uses the pump fake and hits Washington wide open, 30, 40 yards down the field for a touchdown, and chase on a linebacker like all of the Eagles. I mean, those things happen, kind of organically at times. But how many times? When is the last time, really, other than maybe Claypool against Denver, week
That's what I was going to say.
Week 2, that you've really seen? And even so, that wasn't as much separation on that play as maybe as we've seen in previous wide receiver crews with Pittsburgh. But when is the last time that we've seen someone just run away from somebody on the outside? Even before that, you probably have to go back to, I think, Antonio Brown down the left side against the Falcons, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure the answer. Prior to that, I was going to say the Claypool touchdown against Denver last season is kind of the last time we've had a play like you're describing. But yeah, it'd be nice to see. So, I mean, that's not going to change though this week or the rest of the season. So you're playing the hands you're dealt right now. I guess you've dealt yourself.
I mean, how big is not having that element?
I think it's important. I mean, I don't want to sit there and say that it's the say all end all, because this is a talented receiver group and they can make plays, and it's not like they're lacking weapons overall. But sure, I mean, it is always nice to have that dude that just has that 4.3 flat kind of speed. The Tyreek Hill, even Anthony Schwartz. I know we weren't big on him coming out of Auburn, but he's making some plays for the Browns, and that's a different element that they can do a lot of different things with. And so just having that big playability that gets you that huge chunk plays, you don't have to worry about the 10, 12 play methodical slice and dice kind of drive. It's just nice to have, just to get that 150-plus yard play, hopefully put it in the end zone and just get points on the board just like that.
All right, wrapping it up on the Bengals offense, Alex, what are the top 2 things that the Steelers defense needs to do against this Bengals offense?
Stop the run, disguise coverages, force throws outside the numbers. Those are the top 3 keys.
Okay. All right, defense.
I think it's a pretty good Bengals defense. I've been impressed. Usually when I watch these Bengals defenses, they're pretty lackluster. You're trying to find things to write about in terms of things to be worried about. But the off-ball linebacking group hasn't always been great. Some of the pass rush has not been very good the last couple seasons. But they've really improved. And they played the run extremely well. I think there's been a lot of effort the Bengals have put in to stop the run. They faced a couple of really strong running backs in Dalvin Cook and David Montgomery. And I'll give you a Najee Harris prediction this week in terms of production. I'm going to guess he has 20 carries for 61 yards, because that's exactly the numbers that Dalvin Cook and David Montgomery had in the first 2 weeks of the season, 20 carries for 61 yards. So their run defense has been, the math tells us it's the second best run defense in football the first 2 weeks into the year, and they faced some really talented running backs. And so they've gone with some, head up fronts where they have the nose tackle head up over center. They've run some 5-2, 6-2 looking fronts that really sell out to stop the run. And so it's a better defensive line. It's a better off-ball linebacker group with Logan Wilson, who I think we're both really high on coming out of Wyoming. He's making a ton of plays for them, 16 tackles, leading the team. And it's a safety group that's always been strong with Bates and Von Bell. And so I think just overall a better defense than we've seen in past seasons. They
have been one of the things that jumped out on from the defensive side of the all 22. There was their play against the run. I'm gonna give you a stat here on that as well, if I can find what I just did with it here. Somewhere around a 40% success rate against them so far on the run. Oh, here it is. Through 2 games this season, the Bengals defense has allowed just 18 of 44 runs by opposing running backs to be successful. This is running backs only. All right. So just a 40.9% run success rate against them, against, as you said, some good backs in Cook and Montgomery, and here come the Steelers in with a run success rate of lower than 40.9%. So in other words, you're telling me you're not expecting the Steelers offense to be able to run the football successfully this week?
think it's going to be harder than we all hoped it would be, because usually this team has had success running against the Bengals. Now, I will say, the offensive lines for the Bears and Vikings haven't been great, but the Steelers' offensive line has their problems too. And I've seen, the Vikings, for example, used a lot of two-back, and so that kind of invited more guys up the line of scrimmage. But I think it's going to be tough. I mean, not to say that they can't, but the Bengals have done a good job. They got a good D line, B.J. Hill, and they added Trey Hendrickson off the edge. Sam Hubbard's always played well for them, so it's not going to be easy. That's for sure.
Seemed like they play a little bit higher amount of two deep than what I thought they would, and boy, I hope they do that against the Steelers, because it might loosen things up a little bit in that regard. I would think that they take the blueprint and play some single high with Jesse Bates back there and roll their chances that way.
Yeah, I mean, that may be because most teams are playing Pittsburgh, at least the Bills and Raiders have, with 8-man boxes, stopping the run, and just kind of, trying to dare them to win deep and see if they can, if Pittsburgh can get their chunk plays. And so far, they really haven't been able to do so. So that may be the game plan. But yeah, they've done well against the run for sure. They've been they show different looks. They can get really aggressive sometimes. They'll play like cover zero and just get real aggressive and mug the A gaps and show some heavy blitz looks. So again, I think schematically and certainly from a production standpoint, this defense is playing pretty well.
Obviously they play they play a 4-3 and all like that, but really offensively and defensively, there's a lot of similarities between these units, I think.
In what sense?
In scheme and what they like to run.
Okay.
Especially on the offensive side of the ball with them.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I mean, they have they will spread things out. They will throw vertical. They do have a bell cow running back. The only running back who's played more snaps from a percentage standpoint than Joe Mixon is Najee Harris. So yeah, I think there's some similar identities there. Defensively, I think it's a little bit different.
And it might come down to whoever can get the most amount of chunk plays outside the numbers deep down the field is what this one might come down to, because both teams kind of, in my opinion, struggle at that. And you would have to think that both teams are going to try to force each other to do that. I mean, look, people say, and it's a big topic of conversation because it's how teams play Ben. A lot of times, a lot of teams will play that either cover 3 or cover 1 with the middle of the field safety there and not have to play them as deep in general, probably cheat them up 3 or 4 yards, and that's just another deterrent for Ben throwing to the middle of the field more than 12 yards down the field.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to do that if that middle of the field is closed. And so teams know, if they stop Pittsburgh's run game, then the offense kind of starts to struggle. And that's been proof positive the first 2 games of the season.
Right. So, the Steelers are going to have to ugly this one out by run success rate. Probably, and you don't want Ben, coming off that injury that he's taken. It's probably, unfortunately, going to be a lot of screens in this one. I think that's one thing that you try to do in this one as well, too, that we talked earlier in the week. You can win when Najee would not hand the football off with him, right? You can use them. You can use them as the extended running game. I know people hate to hear that. There hasn't been a lot that's changed so far, right? Offensively with this team.
No, I wrote on Monday that the title was what was the title? Out with the old, in with the old was the cheeky little title that I had there. It looks very similar 2 games in.
All right, so you better go a little bit even old and dump the football, get the football in the hands of Najee Harris in the screen game. I think there's going to be some instances where some quick screens to the wide receivers on either side and try to get the wide receiver on a one-on-one situation. With the one guy to beat, and maybe a pop an explosive play that way there. And then obviously I think you're going to see a lot of these quick slants. Once again, it's going to be I don't expect Roethlisberger's. Once again, hopefully I'm wrong. I don't expect a very high intended average air yards, nor very high completed air yards. If the completed air yards is high, then the Steelers probably have run away with this one. But I'm not seeing this. I'm seeing this kind of an ugly short pass attempt to try to win this one.
And with the run game, I would go back to the classic Bengals beater, power, gap schemes. I think that's been the most successful part of this run game when it has worked and it has hit so far. When you're pulling dots, and I need Kevin Dotson to play a really good game this week, to be physical, to be angry, to kick out these guys and take on these defensive ends out on the edge on those power runs. I think that's going to be the ticket to improving this run game.
Oh boy, I would like to have to take a cold shower after this one. But normally too, when we have seen that in the past against the Bengals, normally it's right to left.
Right. Well, that's because it was the man that was the Castro.
Right.
So good at it. I mean, you don't want Turner pulling along.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Is we might see something we haven't seen since Faneca.
Right. Well, they pulled.
I mean,
they pulled Dotson more than they pulled Turner this year already, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, I'm ready for a heavy dose of that.
Yeah, so that'll be the mission. But I think the other thing I was going to say, the Bengals defense, they really do well against play action. I think they've defended play action extremely well. And so I know people want to say use a fullback, use play action. I think those two things are going to actually do more harm this week than good, to be honest with you.
All right, so you're not expecting a high rate of that then?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see it. I don't know. But I just think the Bengals have done a good job. Watch the Vikings game with C.J. Ham at fullback. They were loading up the box every time against two back and play action. The Bengals have done a really good job at taking away the deep threats. They're really disciplined. They're forcing checkdowns. And so I think play action is going to be – I'm sure they'll try it, but I think the Bengals have defended it well.
I try to motion the living you-know-what out of them. We haven't seen a lot of that either. The Steelers, 17th, I think. But here's the other thing about you got to be careful with percentages and stats like that. It's a small sample size, and the Steelers haven't been on the field a lot, right? And then obviously in late game situations, if you're needing to score, you're probably gonna the plays that you're going to run are not going to utilize a lot because motion and stuff like that doesn't come into play when teams know you're not going to run the football, aspect of it. So I hope to see if this offense wants to have any shot, I think, of running the football early, we're going to have to see a lot of this, a lot of window dressing here, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think you got to do something to get this offense going, to lighten that box a bit, to remove somebody, to get their eyes wrong. Something has to change here to get this run game in gear.
All right. Anything else to talk? Jesse Bates is how do you view him playing so far this season?
Really well. I mean, he's one of the better free safeties in football. Yeah, I mean, he's been really good for them. I mean, and him and Von Bell, to me, are a really underrated pairing at safety. Those guys tackle more than any other safety in football. But Bates has plus ball skills. What's
the number one? And here's the other thing about Trey Waynes, too. He practiced limited. I doubt he plays. And if he doesn't, if Eli Apple's going to be the one that you probably want to go after, right?
Yeah, I think Josh said that maybe in his report he focused more on the individuals, and I just kind of did the scheme stuff. But yeah, I have heard Apple. I think Paul said that as much on Wednesday, that Eli Apple's the guy to go after.
I mean, I think if you stay away from their safeties, you can maybe have some success on the outside. I like Chidobe Awuzie, obviously former Dallas Cowboys player with them, and Mike Hilton, that's another aspect of there that we just finally now getting back around to. How are you going to run with him on the field?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe by trying to play more 12 personnel and keeping him off the field, I guess. But, Pittsburgh would put him on the field against heavier packages. So easier said than done. Pittsburgh's going to get a taste of what they've been dishing out for the last 4 years.
Yep. All right. Anything else to add in this?
I would say if Waynes does play, maybe you go after him. The dude hasn't played football since 2019. I just kind of test to see where that guy's at. I mean, this guy's long removed from his last NFL snap.
All right, good point. He was limited, and I think that's the first time he's really done anything practice-wise in a little while. So we'll have to see what the injury report says on him later. I'm willing to bet they don't play him. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, Dave, let's get to before we get to our Week 3 picks, I should say, let's talk about our friends over at MyBookie. Then we will make our Week 3 picks. We're both 1-0 to start the week.
Woohoo!
So feeling good.
Yeah, thankfully the
that was free money last night.
Free money. Already limited from your work survivor pool, Alex? Well, don't sweat it because MyBookie's kicking off a free $500 $50,000 Survivor contest for week 3. Whether you're a new or an existing customer, if you made a deposit with MyBookie, you'll earn an entry into the $50,000 Survivor contest absolutely free. To play, all you have to do is pick one winner a week to keep your streak alive and have a shot at the grand prize. Make your first deposit now using promo code TERRIBLE, and they'll double your funds on top of it. That's double your money to double your winnings. That's promo code TERRIBLE for a double deposit bonus and a ticket into the MyBookie Survivor contest. So if you're already a MyBookie member, make sure you get over there and you get into that free $50,000 Survivor contest for week 3. And if you're a new customer, go there, use promo code TERRIBLE at sign up, and not only will you get a free entry into that, they'll double your funds on top of it. So you really, really can't beat that. It's a promotion there, week 3 promotion that they're running this week. And as usual, go to mybookie.ag, and we hope you already support them. And if not, hopefully you sign up and use promo code TERRIBLE on top of it.
Yeah, and again, shout out to MyBookie for being a longtime sponsor of the podcast. All right, Dave, let's get to our Week 3 picks.
Let's do it here, and we will start in Week 3 with the Cardinals at the Jaguars. Jaguars at home, plus 7.5 points.
Give me the Cardinals on this one. I'm still high on Arizona and not so high on Jacksonville.
I will go with you on that one. Do you view it as an unfair advantage for me in picking these games if I make you go first? Someone wrote in and says I should go first, and I have an unfair advantage by having you go first there.
The nights I've lost of sleep thinking about this. Okay. No, I don't care. I'll go first.
All right. I will lay the 7.5 along with you there. The Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. Boy, Tennessee not playing as... I mean, they did show some moxie at the end of that game against Seattle there. And boy, Derrick Henry, you want to talk about a guy that can run against whatever you put up against him out there. Derrick Henry is that guy. Titans at home, laying 5.5 against the Colts.
You know, I changed my answer with the Colts last week, and I shouldn't have. I think I went the wrong way on that one. But the Colts are starting Jacob Eason, Brett Hundley at quarterback, maybe Carson Wentz. Who the heck knows? Give me the Titans.
I think the Titans win this one big at home. I will lay the 5.5 along with you. The Washington football team at the Buffalo Bills. This will be an interesting game here. A little bit larger spread, maybe, I guess, because of the quarterback situation there, whatnot. Bills laying 7.5 at home against the Washington football team and that good defense of theirs.
Yeah, but that defense has had some injuries up front. Ioannidis, he's questionable this week, I'm pretty sure. I know Heineke had the big performance, but I'm still high on Buffalo. They bounced back a bit last week. Give me the Bills.
I'm going to run with you on this one. Give me the Bills, lay the 7.5. New Orleans Saints on the road against the New England Patriots. The Patriots are favored at home by 3 against the W. Winstons.
Yeah, and what kind of Jameis Winston are you going to get? Week 1, week 2, that's always been the question for him, finding consistency. Once we had a good week in week 1, bad week 2, I think we're back to good Jameis this week. I'll go the Saints.
Man, I'm gonna tag along with you here. Give me the +3. I think the Saints win this outright. I think they beat the Patriots outright here. So give me the Saints +3. Chargers on the road against the Chiefs. A big divisional matchup over there. The Chiefs smarting after their loss against Baltimore. Chiefs -7 at home against the Chargers.
That's a big line. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. They're gonna have a big blowout win at some point, right? Well, the last time they haven't had two. You know, they had the come from behind win against the Browns week 1. They lose to the Ravens in crazy fashion week 2. They gotta have kind of the classic, just drubbing some team. And I like the Chargers, but I'm going with the Chiefs.
I'm gonna tag along with you on this one too.
Right.
This is the way I have this one circled. Chiefs -7. I think they win big in this one. Atlanta Falcons at the New York Football Giants. Boy, the Falcons. Giants -3 at home against the Falcons.
Yeah, you're saying oof about both these teams, though. Saquon Barkley, that's all you can say about how that's gone so far. What's the line on this one? 3.5?
3. Giants at home by 3.
Give me the Giants because they're the home team. I don't feel good about this one, though.
I'll take Matty Ryan upsetting on the road here. Give me the Falcons plus the 3. Chicago Bears at the Cleveland Browns. Fields at quarterback now. Bears fans getting what they asked for here. Browns going to be without a player or two, I think, possibly as well, too. But Browns -7 at home versus the Bears.
I think Browns win. I'll say Bears cover, though. It's just Justin Fields, new quarterback, different style. He impresses in his first start and pushes the ball downfield, something the Bears are in desperate need of.
I'll take the Browns blowing them out, lay the 7 against the rookie quarterback there. Miami Dolphins on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. The undefeated Las Vegas Raiders laying 3.5 at home here in Vegas.
AFC leading Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go with the Raiders, man. They're a good team, as Pittsburgh saw last week. So and I think they're going to get a little bit healthier, too, I'm guessing. I don't know the exact status of Josh Jacobs, but give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with you on this one as well, too. Raiders are playing a little bit better than what I thought they would start of the season here. I will lay the 3.5 with you against Miami at in Vegas. The New York Jets on the road against Denver. Boy, their poor rookie quarterback's playing like a rookie. Denver laying 10.5 at home against the Jets.
It's a big line. It's always scary to go with the favorite team in that one. But I'll go Denver.
I'll go with the Jets to at least cover here. I don't think the Jets will win, but maybe they'll make it a touchdown game late here, so I'll take the Jets. Tampa Bay, here's a good one for you. Tampa Bay on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 1-point underdogs. Boy, you not many probably games on the calendar this year that you think that the Buccaneers maybe have a chance to lose. Maybe this is one of them. Rams +1 at home.
Yeah, this could be a shootout for sure. Which team's going to run the football could be the answer here, but I'm going to go with Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Ooh, yeah, I'll go with you. It's hard to root against the Buccaneers right yet. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams do upset them here, but I'll take the Buccaneers and lay that point. This will end up right. This will be a 1-point game right here. This will the juice will be flowing here. Seattle Seahawks on the road against Minnesota. Interesting line, especially the way the Seahawks I think are the better team. Minnesota +1 at home against the Seahawks.
Oh, wow. I'm going Seattle for sure in this one. Is there a more underrated connection in football than Russell Wilson to Tyler Lockett? Man, they just make big plays every single week. They do it again. They beat the Vikings.
And then, if you try to cover him, you have Metcalf to have to deal with. I'm with you. Give me Seattle, lay the point on the road against Minnesota. Green Bay at the 49ers. Wow, 49ers favored by 3 at home against the Packers? This one stinks.
Yeah, smell a rat reference, I think, coming from you, Dave. I'm going with the Packers in this one. The 49ers need a good run game. I have no idea who their running backs are at this point. I don't think Kyle Shanahan knows who the running backs are at this point. Give me the Packers.
I do. I smell a rat here. Packers +3. I think the Packers win this one outright. Eagles, NFC East matchup. Eagles at the Cowboys. Cowboys laying 3.5 at home against the Eagles.
It's a sneaky good matchup, I think. I think the Cowboys are going to win this. They've shown the ability to win in different ways, run and pass. They got, Pollard looks really good for them. Give me Dallas.
Yeah, I just think all the way around, just Dallas is a better team. Are they 3.5? I think they're at least a 3-point better team. Are they the half better? Ooh, that's where they.
I don't know how you determine that one.
That's where they get you here. I'll roll with you on here. I'll take Dallas at home, lay the 3.5. That brings us all the way back to the Steelers versus the Bengals, 1 o'clock Heinz Field. Steelers right now on my bookie laying 3. People have lost a little bit of confidence in the Steelers since the beginning of the week here. So Steelers laying 3 at home against the Bengals. What say you?
Ooh. Yeah, certainly do not want to discount this Bengals team. Like I said, their run defense has been strong. I think it'll be tougher for this. I really wanted to sit there and say that the Steelers are going to get the run game back on track. Then I got into the tape of the Bengals and went, man, they've done really well against with their run defense so far this season. Still, though, I think Pittsburgh has more weapons overall, more playmaking defensively. So I have the Steelers winning this one, but not comfortably, 20-16, lower scoring affair over the Bengals.
Yeah, I have a 4-point game on this as well, too, with the Steelers winning, but a few more points in this game than you do. This is not a must-win game, but it's a game the Steelers must win. Does that make sense? No. but that's
my table take has a similar sentiment today, so you're on track there.
I have the Steelers winning this at home. Some sort of late touchdown or something like this. We will obviously be sweating this one out in the fourth quarter. I have a feeling 24-20. Don't expect a lot of points in the first half either. So 24-20, that would be 44. The over-under on this is 43. So play the Steelers -3, take the over 43, and jump on another game there, and you have your trifecta right there.
There you go.
Your three-teamer, if you will.
For Pittsburgh, just get the W no matter what, and go to 2-1. Because it's not must-win, but to go to 1-2 and lose to the Bengals in doing so, that's going to hurt a lot. And people were sky was falling a week ago. My goodness, they lose to the Bengals. It's going to be people are going to act like the season's over.
I think that for the Steelers to at least to compete in the AFC North, at worst 3-3 in the division, and even that's probably not going to get it done. So you probably have to go 4-2 in the division, and within that, I would expect them to have to sweep the Bengals. If you lose your first divisional game of the year, and if it's to the Bengals at that,
at home,
you're really setting yourself up a hell of a climb. And we talked about at the top of the season here, winning the games that many probably perceive you winning. And
sure.
You would probably have classified the Raiders game at that. And okay, they flip-flop that with the Bills. If you don't win this game at home against the Bengals, then who can you beat? So there will be a lot of question marks. I mean, even more question marks if they lose this game at home to the Bengals. Here's to hoping that we're having a victory Monday, and we're talking about it on the podcast. So with that, let's get to the email machine here.
By the way, real quick, T. Higgins is suiting up for practice today, so it looks like T. Higgins, receiver for the Bengals, is going to play on Sunday.
All right. Our buddy Ashley Bright writes in, 11-year listener, your breakdown of content is the best. Dave and I are the same age. I used to get my Steelers Digest as a teen in the early 80s, a week after the Steelers played their game to get the details. Stories and articles on what happened. 2 questions. Would your current top 7 all-time Steelers defense look like this in order? Joe Green, Cam Hayward, L.C. Greenwood, Casey Hampton, Dwight White, Ernie Stautner, Stephon Tuitt. What kind of player? Okay, that's the first question. I mean, top 7 all 7 all-time Steelers defensive linemen look like. So this is linemen. He's got Green, Hayward, Greenwood, Hampton, White, Stautner, Tuitt. Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's a big question to ask. I mean, think about a guy like Keith Willis was so good for them in the 80s, one of the kind of the first big interior pass rushers from like that nose tackle position. So he might be on there. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with all those names. I mean, you could mention 3 or 4 others and they'd be worthy of that spot there. You mentioned Ernie Holmes. I'm not even sure if he did, but yeah, I'd have to think about that one. But that's a good list, obviously.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Hayward over L.C. Greenwood. Greenwood, probably deserves talk to be in the pro football, or he does deserve talk to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame right now, right? So I think you'd have to, for that reason alone, have him above Cameron Hayward. Ernie Stautner's, that he's got to be up there, right?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. I mean, he was Iron Man, great. He played some DN as well.
Got to be higher than 6th overall. I love me some Casey Hampton, which is reminding us to talk about another subject we didn't hit in this podcast here. But I think Casey Hampton at 4th overall is too high. Dwight White, yeah. I mean, that I would shuffle at least the top 3 different, Ashley. I would go Joe Green, LC, Ernie Stautner. Alex?
Yeah, but man, Hayward's been so good. It's ridiculous how good he's been. I mean, at what point do you give yourself like permission to sit there and put a present guy up there? You could make a case Hayward's number 2, honestly. I know that might
And
be
that's what Ashley does.
honestly,
Ashley has him number 2.
No worse than a 4, though. No worse than
Okay.
behind Stottner and Greenwood.
I would agree. Casey Hampton too high at 4th overall on that list?
Yeah, just a little bit, but man, I mean, just because the stats aren't there, but that wasn't his job, obviously.
Right.
So, I mean, again, I'd have to really rack my brain about it, trying to do these answers on the fly. I don't want to sound stupid or be held to something there, but it's a really good list either way.
What kind of player has Wyoming area Logan Wilson become as a second-year linebacker for the Bengals? Well, for starters, didn't he have one thrown right to him by Justin Fields this past week?
Yeah, I think, but he's been really good, man. He's leading the team 16 tackles. He's been an every down guy. They've worked really hard at trying to revamp their off-ball linebacker line. They've gone through a lot of different versions of it. They're finding some traction with Logan Wilson being their guy, and Jermaine Pratt, and others as well. And so I think he's been a really good player for him.
I want to see him have to choice route Najee Harris quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, I think Harris needs to be more involved in the design pass game for him.
He says, love you guys, and our Depot team is incredibly talented in what they do, bringing us Steelers information. Thanks for the email, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
Let's see here. Kevin Amaya writes in, offensive line issues referenced. Hey there, fellas. Thanks for the awesome analysis. As always, for the past week, I've heard multiple times that the current O-line is a detail or two away from having more successful runs. Although this brings hope that the team can fix those minor details, I wanted to give your quick get your quick summary of the issues that plagued the line last year, 2020, for reference. We know that last year's group lacked aggressiveness in the run, but what did this look like on tape? Was it them not being able to hold their blocks, being manhandled by the defensive lineman? I guess I want to know which situation seemed more solvable, last year's or this year. Lastly, what was the main issue that plagued the ever-criticized O-line of the 2008-2009 championship team? I know Ben was getting hit a lot in those years, but how did the line fare in the run game and in plays where Ben didn't hold the ball too long? Appreciate the content as always. All right, you want to take a stab at that?
It has a lot of questions there. I mean, last year, it was just not being physical enough, not finishing blocks, a lot of stalemates where you maybe held your block at the line. The guy didn't, run you backwards, but you weren't getting a push either. And not getting a push in the run game, means that your run game is probably not going to be that effective. This year, it's been more of a technique thing where the finishing there, the finishing is there, the aggression is there, but it's just small little detailed things that have to be improved upon. And then in terms of 08, 09, I mean, they just weren't a very good group overall in terms of just talent or technique. So it's kind of both, I guess.
Yeah, but you did have some semblance of a running game, and then you had Ben still being able to be Ben, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were, I guess, a tenacious group back then, I guess, but the talent level was not super high.
You know what made that 08, 09 offense so great, right?
The defense? I don't know.
Defense.
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Holy moly. I mean, that defense really, made the offense better. I mean, providing short fields and stuff like that. That might going to end up being hopefully a key element in this game on Sunday. There is get Burrow to making a mistake or two and set you up on a short field. And if they do, one of the things that we talked about last week was red zone and capitalizing in the red zone. Well, they did, but they were only in the red zone one time, right? Against the Raiders.
Yeah, they just don't possess the football enough, not enough plays, and not in the red zone as often as they need to be.
So red zone percentage at 100% is fine, but you better be in the red zone more than 100%, more than one time in that game. Thanks for the email, Kevin, and let us move forward here. Brett Niles got a book for us here.
Is there any just one question?
Yeah, assuming Pat Freiermuth is the best blocking tight end on the 53, who is the next best blocker, Gentry or Ebron? If it's Gentry, then he should be the one when they go into two tight end sets along with Freiermuth, ?
I would say Gentry's right now the better blocker than Ebron, and he's played a decent amount of snaps these first 2 weeks. He played quite a bit against Buffalo, and he's played 24 snaps this season. So I mean, he's logging time. It's not like he's not playing at all.
Brett, man, you gotta shorten these things up, brother. Too much there. Mike Odessa writes in. Question for the podcast. I asked this question Monday on YouTube chat, but I think you focused on the wrong part of my question. Well, I think Deontay's the team's number one receiver in a big loss. Do you see a silver lining in him being out maybe this week will be the kick in the pants to now focus on the run game? Maybe we'll push them for more. Maybe it'll push them to get in more 21 personnel. He says, I'm predicting a big game for Najee this week. He's calling his shot over 200 yards and 2 TDs, Micah Dessa writes in. As always, thanks for your time and all your awesome work. I mean, I don't think it's a blessing by not having, if Deontay doesn't play, I don't view that as a blessing. I mean, obviously, Alex and I think there's, more 21 personnel than what they've run so far this season wouldn't be hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think it's a good thing when one of your better receivers is not playing, and I don't think that necessarily compels a team to start going heavy old school with a fullback kind of thing either. They just probably play more 11 with James Washington. I mean, maybe they'll do some more 21. As you said, it's a low bar to clear, but I mean, I don't think it's a silver lining to not have your starting X receiver on the team.
Mike, I think it's possible that Najee could have 2 TDs in this game. I don't think that's out of the question.
It's 200 yards.
That's the 200 yards that's causing the issue here. He would have to have, obviously, a couple of explosive plays in there and probably one catch and run of 40 yards on top of it there. Kudos. Look, if Najee has 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, Steelers win this game. I'm going to go out on a limb there and say that. Look, I mean, if Najee has 2 TDs and 110 total yards from scrimmage, maybe the Steelers win this game.
Yeah, let's hope they do. And we're talking about that. I'll take it.
Absolutely there. So props to you if you called that one there. Brandon writes, or let's see, Brandon, keep an eye out. The last 2 Steelers games, I have seen at least one Steelers fan in a jersey and pads. Can someone get a hold of Bert and get them some release forms? It says, are we trying everything if we don't try this? So I think there's a little bit of a shot at the Steelers need to look at any and all options there. David Sandquist writes in, does Canada's offense have any halfback tight end screenplays? Love the show and appreciate everything you do to provide top-notch analysis on all things Steelers. I know our halfback screen game or H-back screen game has been garbage the past several years, but I don't believe I've seen them even attempt a H-back or tight end screen yet through 2 games. Is that right? I'm curious if Alex saw any back or tight end screen plays attempt during training camp. I know I've seen a few wide receiver screens. I would love to see more misdirection plays that also get O-line out in space. I did like later in the game how they kind of used Freiermuth. And then obviously on the on kind of that choice route to Najee for the touchdown, you probably need to examine maybe not just slip screens or something like that, which I that might work, at least slow down the pass rush a little bit here this week. But answer those questions, Alex.
Yeah, they ran the tight end screen to Gentry, and that lost 2 yards. So there was that one. I have not seen a running back screen so far in the first 2 games. I saw it some in training camp. I don't know the frequency of it, but just more design plays, just to get the ball to Harris's hands would be nice. I mean, that can come in a variety of different ways. It doesn't have to be like the traditional running back middle screen. But yeah, I would like to see just the ball be designed to get to Harris a bit more often, because I don't know if it really has been on any occasion so far this season.
I'm going to call 8 receptions for Najee or more this week.
Okay.
You taking
like
the over? Let's make 7.5 the number.
I'm going under.
You're going under? What? Okay. What's a good over under number? 5.5?
Yeah, I would say maybe 5.5.
Or would you even lean to take the under on that?
I don't know. I'd probably put it at like 4 or 5 catches.
You don't have any faith that they're going to get the ball in Najee's hands then, huh?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Look,
do they
vary based on checkdowns and.
Then what do they need to do offensively to win this game, other than not turn the football over?
Be better on first down. Man, that's what I've been harping on all week is that they're averaging 4 yards a play on first down. That's not good enough. They got to get some more second and manageable, and not getting stuffed against the run so much that puts you in third and long. So be better on first down.
And you don't see. I mean, based on what we both have seen on tape, and the analytics back this up. Well, it's only 2-game sample size there, but you're not expecting the Steelers to have much success running the football either, right?
I don't know. Part of me wants to because they've been so close, but this Bengals run defense has been really stout. So it might be more of a brick wall you're running into. So I'm kind of mixed on it, but it's hard to be optimistic right now.
And you had this 20-16, correct?
Yes.
All right. So you really is the defense going to play a hand in this? Is it going to be a defensive touchdown in this, or Danny Smith going to make an impact in this one?
I'm all for it if they do. I don't know if they will. I think the defense will make some splash plays though against Joe Burrow.
All right, what about the other storyline that we missed earlier in the show about the Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah. My goodness. I'm sorry. I should have said that earlier. Steelers have 5 nominees on the initial Hall of Fame list for the 2022 class. That is, hopefully remember all the names here. Heath Miller, Hines Ward, Casey Hampton, Hardy Nickerson Sr., and Gary Anderson are the 5 of the 122 initial nominees.
All right, let's cut right to the chase. Do any of them make it?
No.
I say no. This is another class that's going to be tough to crack, especially with those bunches. Obviously, if any of them would have any chance whatsoever, I think it would be Hines this time around. Apologies to Heath Miller fans, but does Heath Miller get in? That's the question. And how does Heath Miller's chances compare to Hines Ward moving forward? I don't think either of us think any of these guys are going to get in this time. And we've talked about how long it might be. Ben Roethlisberger might be the next guy to get in there. But who of these guys have a chance? We've beat the Hines Ward horse to death, so let's not go there. What is Heath's chances, and what is a guy like Hardy Nickerson's chances down the line?
Pretty low, unfortunately. I think Heath's in a similar boat as Hines. Is really good player, Steelers Hall of Honor, no doubt. But Canton is just probably just a bridge too far. I will say this Hall of Fame class in general doesn't seem to have any great headlining names overall. Where there's some obvious first ballot, like a Peyton Manning. I think the top names this year are like Steve Smith and DeMarcus Ware, who probably should get in, and Vince Wilfork. But I still don't think any of those guys get in this year, and I really don't think any of those guys probably ever get in. To be honest with you,
Heath.
I don't think he does. I think it's going to be that Hines Ward of close, but not all the way there.
He would have who has the better shot of the two?
I'd say Hines. When you're a Super Bowl MVP, it helps that resume out a little bit, and he's been at least a semifinalist. I don't know. He's new to this, so we'll see where he gets what his path is. But 2-time Pro Bowl, no All-Pros for Heath Miller. The blocking isn't going to be as sexy as it's going to be on a stat sheet. I just don't see it happening.
Sadly, I'm with you there, and I know we probably lost another 0.08% of the listenership today because every time we talk about that. But sadly, I think you're right there. And look, I mean, Casey Hampton is good of a 3-4 Okie nose tackle that you will find in the game, but the problem is he was a 3-4 old school base Okie nose tackle in the game. And unless you get guys like Alex Kozora on the Hall of Fame voting committee, they're not going to understand what any of that means.
Yeah, and a guy like Wilfork's going to get in before Hampton, and I'm not even sure if Wilfork's going to get in this year. So, if anyone has a chance, I think it probably would be Hampton of those names. Because although he doesn't have the stats, people understand why he doesn't have the stats, which is a little different than
But do they understand it though?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's going to understand it, maybe they would because they understand that he was a big guy in the middle. But if he does, he's going to be waiting a little while, like 5+ years.
I mean, the reason that Casey Hampton was so good is he occupied 2 so other players could play like all pro players,
Right.
And unfortunately there's no stats for that, and just like as good of a damn 3-4 defensive end Aaron Smith was at 2-gapping and stuff along those lines. There's not, unless you watch the tape and know what you're talking about and know how to sell it, and even then it has to be a hell of a sell job in this day and age, those guys are just not going to get in. I went back last night and watching some 1988 Hardy Nickerson tape and highlights, and I don't even think he gets in.
It doesn't help that they spelled his name wrong on the graphic release. They called him Sam. So it doesn't sound good for his chances. He had a good career when he left Pittsburgh. He did really well with Tampa Bay. Probably his best years came with the Buccaneers. But and then Anderson, unless you're like an elite kicker, a Vinatieri type of guy, you're not going to get in.
Right. So we're talking about, but look, we would love to be wrong about Hines Ward, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if any of those guys make the next cut to 25. That'll be interesting to see if any of those guys can at least make the cut.
When does that happen?
I think
November,
December, something like that.
All right. Anything else to wrap this up? I think we're about, an hour 45 in, as usual.
Yeah. Hopefully you're talking about a win. If not, we'll talk about whatever happens on Sunday and go from there.
All right. A lot of great content coming up this weekend on SteelersDepot.com. You're going to a college football game on Saturday, are you not?
Yeah, I'll be at Penn State, my first game ever at Beaver Stadium. So that'll be a lot of fun. If anyone's been there before, I'm sure some people have. Give me some tips on, I don't know, what to do, if there's anything to do. But it'll be a good time.
All right, and I'll be watching Nevada.
Lights off, candles on.
Yeah. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. That'll take you to PayPal to make a donation that way. If you just want to help us out, go to Apple and find the podcast there. Leave a comment there to help us out that way. If you want an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. For $25 for one calendar year, you can have a ad-free version of the site. Make sure you're supporting our sponsors in MyBookie and Prediction Strike as well, too. Go to either one of those websites and use promo code TERRIBLE. You would be a huge help helping us out that way by supporting the show's sponsors as well too. So until Monday, Alex, have a safe trip to Mall and enjoy the game. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.